let me know if you can relate to this. Have any of you ever been so good at your job that no one could tell you were struggling? Maybe just me? Like you were showing up, you were meeting deadlines, but on the inside something wasn't right. Something didn't feel quite right. And because you looked fine, no one thought to ask you if you actually were fine. That's the quiet reality of so many top performers. And eventually they start to think that they're the problem. They start to think that they have a motivation problem. And I know that's an oxymoron for some people. I learned that. A top performer not having motivation. But there's a difference between getting things done and being motivated. When I switched focus as a speaker from helping companies engage and retain millennials to empowering driven professionals to own their path by increasing their confidence and clarity, I got met with a lot of feedback. And the feedback that always stood out to me was when coaches would say, well, Kendra, if they're driven, professional, and have any level of success, they don't really need or want more clarity and confidence, right? And I always thought that was an odd take, because don't we all want more of that? So I started pushing forward and sharing my content and sharing my insights, and women started reaching out to me saying that my content made them feel seen, that I was putting words to things that they hadn't been able to describe before. They started sharing their stories with me, stories of burnout, frustration, years of being overworked, undervalued, and unseen. And hearing their stories made me realize that there is a need, because we don't look like what we're going through. We could be killing it at work and quietly questioning everything. We could be leading our teams to success and feeling completely lost ourselves. And I know, because that was me 10 years ago, lost, frustrated, burnt out. I was written off as your stereotypical job-hopping millennial. I called myself the recovering jobaholic because up until my early 30s, I had a little over 40 jobs. I know. And when I say that, people are always like, man, you couldn't keep a job. But the truth is, I've never been fired, so I like to say a job could never keep me. I was driven, I was a hard worker, but I kept finding myself in roles where I would get burnt out, there was no opportunity for development, I wasn't getting coached, and I was just frustrated. And no matter how much I did, no matter how much I worked, I just all ended up the same, being frustrated. And I think back then I didn't really understand how to think about motivation, because I found myself in this constant cycle of chasing motivation. If I'm just a little bit more motivated, if I'm just a little bit more motivated. Because back then, how I heard people talk about motivation, it just didn't really make sense to me. Like they talked about it like it was this fleeting thing, right? This thing that you constantly have to chase, you have no control over. And I come to find that oftentimes people are confusing motivation with inspiration. Inspiration is being struck with the urge to do something. The definition of to inspire is to stimulate the urge in someone to do something. It's fleeting and magical, and it is often external. But motivation, true motivation, is internal. And the definition of motivation is a reason for doing something. A reason for doing something. That's not nearly as fluffy or as elusive as we make it seem, is it? That's why in my program, I actually changed the definition of motivation. I define motivation as when your reason to take action outweighs everything else. So as an activity, as a reframe, something I want you to do, the next time you say or think, I'm just not motivated, I want you to shift that to, I don't have a reason. I'm just not motivated to work out. I don't have a reason to work out. That doesn't feel the same, does it? I'm not motivated to start that business. I don't have a reason to start that business. I'm just not motivated at my job. I don't know my reason for being there. And that's the biggest one I hear. I've coached hundreds of people over the years, and that's usually the primary thing. I'm not motivated where I am. And my next question always is, well, where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? And they usually give me one of two answers. One, they have a huge, lofty, amazing dream that they feel too far from, or they have no idea. They have no idea where they want to go, what they want to be when they grow up, and so they're generally lost. And the thing is, if you don't know where you're going, it's hard to see the power and purpose of where you are. And that's why I created the PATH framework. I created it as not as a theory, but as a lifeline, because I needed a lifeline. I created this when I was desperate for direction. I was desperate for direction. I told you a little bit about being unmotivated in my job and, job hopping. But I created this framework when I decided to venture out as an entrepreneur. I kind of had given up on the job. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna find fulfillment in my 9 to 5. It's fine, let me find something to do on the side that brings me joy. And I had told my mom, I wanna talk to women about confidence, because I feel like our confidence level is at the core of our decision making. So I started speaking to women's groups and writing a blog. And when I found out that people got paid to do this, I got a coach. And this was like right when the rise of life coaches and business coaches really started to come about on Facebook. And so I got a coach and I expressed my interest. I was like, I want to be a full-time speaker. She's like, okay, my program can help you do that. Great. I paid more money than I had at the time to get with this coach. And on our first call, I reiterated my goal for joining her program. I want to be a full-time speaker. And she said, no, there are a lot of broke speakers out there. The money is being a coach, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. I'm sorry, what? What do you mean? Because I can't get a refund now, can I? So I went forward. And I had my motivation, but I didn't have clarity. So I was just running. I did the things. I updated my website. I got the scheduling tools. I did all the things. And flash forward 6 months, I'm on the floor in my mom's 3rd bedroom that I'm using as a makeshift office. And I am so frustrated. I was frustrated with my job. This thing that I had started doing to bring me fulfillment and bring me joy, I'm now frustrated with that because, again, motivation without clarity leads to burnout. You're just spinning your wheels. And I was just sitting out crying out, why isn't this working? I was getting clients, but I was like, why is it so hard? Why doesn't this feel good? And I don't know if you've ever had one of those moments where a little epiphany drops in your spirit, but I had that in that moment. A little voice said, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like, oh, right. I set out to be a speaker. My entire life, I had waited for other people to give me direction. Asking my mom, what should I do? Asking my friends, what should I do? Waiting for my manager to tell me what to do or give me guidance. And I was just stuck in that. And then here I am thinking I've chosen my own path. And not only did I let someone take me off, I paid her to take me off my path. I was so frustrated, but that's where the path framework started. I literally wiped everything away. I got one of those big sticky pads and I was like, okay, I obviously didn't have clarity on where I wanted to go. And that's why I didn't have enough conviction to say, no, this is where I'm headed. So I created the path framework, and it wasn't pretty at the time because I wasn't planning on sharing this. This was like my own thing. I wasn't planning on talking about this or sharing this with people, but this is what drove me. This is what gave me intrinsic motivation. It gave me my reason. And when I started with my path framework, it took me from a complete career pivot, starting over entry level in a brand new industry, all the way to a vice president in 5 years. And from there, I started getting recognized and awards and getting invited to speak and then getting invited to interviews. And I know what you might be thinking. Kendra, you said you wanted to be a full-time speaker, not a VP. But because I had clarity on my end goal, because I had intrinsic motivation, it changed the way I showed up. It changed my decision making. It changed how I worked. And that got me recognized. That opened so many doors. And those doors led me to the stage. Because the path might change, it might be different, but I held true to my end vision. And so I can't get into the full framework today, but I want to give you just a little bit of the first step. And the first step is pin your vision. And this is all about getting clear about what you want for your life. I use the analogy of a GPS. You are going to drop a pin on your vision of a successful life. And that is going to be your reason. That is going to be your motivator. That is going to be your driving force, carrying you through, helping you make decisions, and help to guide you. Because when you're able to connect the dots between where you are now and where you want to be, it's so much easier. You're able to see where you are differently. You're able to optimize where you are right now. When you have a path forward, it's no longer just about the end goal. It's about the journey. It's about being able to take strategic, aligned action right where you are. So if you've been showing up and you've been achieving your goals, you've been making it happen, but you're still not feeling fulfilled, you're still somehow feeling behind in life, I want to tell you, you don't lack motivation. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a clarity problem. When you get clear on what you want, where you're going, and why where you are matters, so many things change. So many things change. I want to let you know that you're not behind. You're not stuck. You are not lost. You are positioned with purpose, on purpose. And your path to success starts right where you are. And once you get clarity on that, so many things will change for you. So many things will change. I am living proof of that. And so, if I can ask you, who's ready to own your path?